Yes.
Hello, Dr. Fozia. How are you?
Hi, Leah. I'm good, thank you.
So, do you have time today? We would like to ask you a few questions.
Yes, of course.
Can you take us back to the beginning of your journey at the Center for Water Informatics and Technology?
This center was my first professional home. I came back from Oxford and was looking for a place to work, and so I'd consider it the first platform, my first home, where I kind of thought, structured what I wanted to do in the next few years. Yeah, all fond memories.
What are you doing currently?
I am an assistant professor at the Aab University's Institute for Education and Development.
What drew you to WIT? Why did you come back to Pakistan?
I always wanted to come back to Pakistan. I mean, many people who were growing with me wanted to kind of serve Pakistan. And that passion, I think, remains. So, of course, in Pakistan, then I wanted to work in one of the best places. And I thought, what best to than to find LUMS and maybe a center that's working on water in it.
What was your childhood like? Tell us about your childhood.
It was fun. It was close to nature, close to the mountains. It was humble. It was very simple, and it was filled with connections with all members of the family.
Did you want to study science as a child?
Always had a lot of love for nature. I think always was observing, just enjoying all the time I spent in the outside, just sitting there reflecting. Loved biology as a student. So I would say I loved science, yeah.
Speaking of, what is your favorite color?
My favorite color in my head is brown, but I think in my wardrobe it's mostly white and blue, and I think that kind of also is the color of water.
What was the first thing you did in the morning?
I woke up and I brushed my teeth.
Name 3 things that you love to eat.
I love eating Pakistani mangoes. Nothing beats that experience. And then I love biryani, and we have a local cuisine called gral, which is savory pancake. I really love it.
If you weren't a scientist, what would you have been instead?
I love to read fiction. I love to live in that kind of imaginary world, so I probably would have been an author.
If you could relive one moment in life, what would that be and why?
I would like to maybe re-experience 2 things. One is my childhood in the mountains, because of course if I'm given an opportunity, I'd like to relive it completely differently and maybe give even more time to nature and spend it observing and learning more from nature. Or I think Oxford, because I feel that there was so much that I couldn't do because there was so much that was happening all the time, that I would go and re-experience Oxford once again as a revived unit.
How has your background in engineering science, specifically advanced water treatment, influenced your approach to water-related challenges?
So I think the engineering showed me what's possible in terms of the solutions. So I know what can be done from like an expert perspective, and from a technology perspective as well. So I know all the advanced technologies, but also I think it gave me a perspective on what is possible. So that understanding of what is possible and what is actually doable on the ground.
Reflecting on your time at WIT, what projects or initiatives are you most proud of contributing to or leading during your tenure?
I think I enjoyed teaching, a little bit of teaching, collaborating with some of the faculty in biology, Dr. Safi, the faculty in physics, who I conversed with as well. Most probably like everyone, but let's say Amar, Safi, in physics, biology, I really enjoyed interacting with them and the kind of conversations that took.
Could you share some insights into the unique learning environment at LUMS and how it shaped your professional growth?
Just how rich the knowledge infrastructure was, I guess, and just the people I mentioned, the kind of conversations that took place, the science lab, the amount of instruments that are available, the possibilities that I could think of, and the kind of connections that I could make within environment, physics, chemistry, biology, and so on.
As a postdoctoral fellow and adjunct faculty member at WIT, what aspects of your work did you find most rewarding?
I think it was the ability to work with people, as I mentioned already. In the team, we had someone like Dr. Mahmood, who comes with 30 years of experience in working in development agencies, is a wonderful practitioner. Just the ability to be able to work as a scientist with him. So issues that I'm interested in, such as climate smart agriculture, regenerative agriculture, and policies relating to it, I think everything was kind of combining together. And then we had Dr. Aab Beeti coming in with all his tech expertise in the same region. So I've been saying that all of us need to work together, sit together, and understand the problem and solving it together instead of doing it in silos. And I think at WIT we were very much able to do that. So I would say that.
How does your PhD experience at Oxford University in engineering science inform the work you do now?
My life at Oxford, I think it wasn't just the academics that they trained me. I think the training at Oxford happens holistically. So in a way, it was all the events I attended, all the meetings I attended, all the networking that happened, the opportunities that we had access to. I feel that that entire process is planned for you to train better. So of course, meeting best academics within the membrane filtration field, we have some of the best experts at Oxford. So meeting them, talking to them, reading their work, but also I think simultaneously understanding how this big academic infrastructure works.
Moving beyond the academic setting, how do you see your current work translating into real-world impact?
I've recently started working on early education in early years and before university, because I think a very selected population makes it to the university, and there's so much, if you want mass change, which is what is needed, I think, in environmental interventions, one has to go beyond these academic spaces and go back to the public, which is basically something we say everywhere. So in a way, I felt that all of this knowledge platform enabled me and trained me for a setup where I could go outside and do work. At the moment, my focus is entirely mainstreaming environmental education and climate change education and make sure that it happens way before higher education. And I think I'm being successful, and all of that confidence I think came from the fact that I was a part of platforms and institutions like LUMS, which then gave me the confidence and gave me invitations to different platforms where I knew exactly what was missing. So I guess what I'm doing right now in mainstreaming the education relating to this field so that better interventions and innovations can happen, I feel all of that happens because I was here.
Can you elaborate on the significance of your current role at Aab University and how it contributes to the broader landscape of water research and technology?
I think, like I said, it focuses more on mainstreaming the education, and the purpose is that if we really want for change to happen, we are a big country, we have enormous populations, the changes have to happen at mass scale. The education has to inform an ordinary citizen, and so the focus is so much on reaching out to as many people as we can so that justice can be achieved in a real sense, environmental and climate justice can be achieved in a real sense, because people at the grassroots have to be informed. So like I said, the work I'm doing on environmental education, we're trying to work with the Ministry of Education, we're trying to reach out to all the other stakeholders, different working groups have been formulated. But other than that, it's what I learned, that is what you do on your own with or without any support. And I think WIT was instrumental in that. As the only person in that field here, I started on my own, and now I kind of know how to operate on my own, but I also know what is the significance of collaboration. So yeah.
During the COVID-19 pandemic, many aspects of work and life had changed. How did your experience at WIT adapt? And were there specific challenges or innovations that emerged during this period?
So I think for me, in COVID, I actually went home, and so COVID was the first time where I finally got to spend a little more time in the mountains, which was, I think, great. But then I'm a workaholic, so I kind of missed work, so I came back to Lahore, and I was thinking of what can I do, because I'd always been a lab work and an outreach person, but the lab work was an important part of my role. The wet lab was an important part of my entire career. And at that point, then I designed my first course. I think, again, not being in a department or being in a center, I had the liberty. So I designed my first course, which was an online course. And what I really liked is I had the liberty to think how I wanted that course to be. I had the liberty to engage in design activities. So I guess also getting that option and starting with online. For many people, teaching started in person. And then they had to move to online. For me, teaching started online, and then I had to move in person. So I kind of appreciate both platforms again.
The Khoka at LUMS is a notable spot, and it served as a space for many during the pandemic. Can you share something interesting about spending time outdoors?
I remember when we came, because Dr. Mahmood, who I mentioned, was a colleague, he didn't want to sit indoors. So I remember spending a lot of office hours here post-COVID, when offices were open, sitting with him. A lot of meetings happened here. But other than that, I think Khoka at LUMS is generally a space that's full of life. So every time, when I'm heading home, just seeing the kids enjoying music, different societies, the clubs. So not necessarily everything that I'm involved in, but everything that I used to observe, the kids doing atan and so on. So I think that was very interesting. But other than that, the time and conversations, and sometimes a lot of office hours and meetings that I had here were also interesting.
How did this environment impact your well-being and productivity? And did it influence any aspects of your research?
In terms of well-being, I would say the campus is beautiful. Of course, there are a lot of opportunities. So I believe that I was feeling all right. And in terms of productivity, I think I was always working. I'm not sure if I was efficient and productive. But like I said, a lot of my thought process initiated here. What I'm doing today, which is very different from what people who've trained in fields like me are doing. They're doing the traditional research, and I'm thinking and going beyond. I feel that reflection space and the thinking big kind of started here, which I already am seeing happen.
What is your teaching pedagogy?
As a student, I really loved all the activities and experiential learning. That was a part of my learning process, and I remember that a lot. So as a teacher, then my pedagogy is kind of the same. I want to make sure that everything is contextual, real. Students kind of understand what I'm talking about, but also whatever I'm talking about, they kind of get to see it as well. So I used to say it's hands-on, but now that I'm at IDF, I've learned the right term for it, because I thought hands-on isn't it doesn't summarize the soul of it. So I learned that one educationists call it 3H. So it's hands-on, hearts-on, heads-on. So I think I would say 3H.
The LUMS agricultural field provides a unique learning environment. How has this space enriched your teaching and research experiences?
So I have agriculture background. I studied as environmental scientist agroecology, and I was always interested in climate smart agriculture, so was reading a lot about it as well. When I designed my course, I intentionally put a climate smart agriculture lecture in it, in which not only was science there, but society was there and technology was there as well. And I think how this field helped me was that even though it was just one lecture, and I kind of taught the students the breadth of the topic, but when I brought them here, they kind of put it, I think, into perspective. So just the hands-on was easy, because I think the more I'm interacting with different age groups for learning and teaching, I'm realizing that seeing is believing. So I think this was basically them knowing that everything we're talking about, it's real, it's happening, and it has impact.
Taking students to the LUMS agricultural field for hands-on learning sounds intriguing. Can you share a memorable experience or project that highlights the impact of this approach to education?
So like I said, so for my classroom, like bringing the students here, and then, for example, one of the class tasks was for them to do different hands-on work. So some of the students did a composting experiment there. They dug different ditches and kind of tried to see how does food degrade, when does it degrade, can they create these simple, easy setups at their home. So again, the space and kind of hands-on seeing and acting maybe on a day-to-day basis.
Science often involves data and technology, but there's a human element behind it. How do you incorporate the human dimension into your work, and why is it crucial?
So I come from a village. No matter where I go, I think that village life is a part of my core. I come from an agriculture background. No matter what I do belong in that space of food production and a kind of, doing the work. And I believe that in many ways the learning sort of complemented what I've been doing and learning and how I grew. I felt that no matter what I did, I kind of had to find a balance between the advanced studies that I was doing, but also to be able to go and talk to the people in a language they're able to understand. So something that scientists don't do, which is simplify the knowledge, which is to be able to talk to every day-to-day person. For many people, it's kind of dumbing down the information. For me, it's reaching out. And I think what's happened, for example, here, and of course many platforms that I've been a part of, is I had been saying that we need that interdisciplinarity, which I kind of mentioned as well. But for example, the tech, the science, the everything combining, but then the opportunity to go outside. So when I was at LUMS, I did a waste scavenging research. I went and worked with a community in Johor town. And so I think that was a very eye-opening experience because I saw life at a different level. So while I was learning about plastic waste management, I was also meeting the people and seeing that their wants are not very different from ours. They want, the same kind of life that we want, but actually the kind of life that they live is very, very difficult. And similarly, then it sort of transcended into the microplastic pollution quantification work that we did, and even in that we saw what kind of communities live around these dirty nalas, otherwise stormwater nalas. So the aspect of research and teaching always has some connection to the people. So when I do even the climate smart work, I kind of make sure that the farmer is informed. And now that I'm in education, I'm kind of thinking about how can the children of these farmers be educated. And we don't just engage with the farmers, but how do we engage the future generations within these farming communities so that they live sustainably. So there are aspects of it. Of course, I'm not trained in it, but I make sure that all of these aspects inform me, and therefore the work, and therefore its ability to go and speak to people.
What role do mentorship and collaboration play in fostering the next generation of researchers and professionals?
So, as a student, I think we didn't have the best of mentors. Like, we had very great teachers. As a professional as well, I felt that Pakistan in general is lacking in mentorship. I feel that things would be very nice if there were systems. So in many ways, I feel that people from my generation kind of try and make up by giving more support to the students, by being kinder to the students. But I hope that systems will change. In general, they're always good, great, helping people in the institution. They're leaders who want to give you the platform, who want to support you. But I think that system has been lacking. So, of course, if there were better mentorships, I think a lot of people would do so much better. So I feel that it's very important for people to grow, and they could do things so much better and so much earlier if platforms were enabling, and if leadership kind of understood what this person is good at.
Since we're standing here at the LUMS Digital Sustainable Agriculture field, what are your thoughts on sustainable agriculture?
So in terms of nature-inspired agriculture, I always read in the books, we always knew by the books that nature kind of is built in a way where everything is in place. The life kind of knows how to grow, systems know how to find that balance. And on paper, everything made sense, but in the real life, what I always saw was a lot of input. I saw a lot of GMOs, a lot of technology coming in the food production system. And also that with every year, so because of the farming background, I kind of knew how every year the farmers becoming more dependent on the input, and therefore kind of the corporation's system, and also how their own food security. Can you imagine people who are producing food or food insecure themselves and so dependent on the inputs? I felt that this was such an imbalance. And then working with progressive farmers like Asif Sharif Saab and many others who are doing brilliant work in the field, and many food organizations working in the setup, I kind of see sustainable agriculture as the hope that living with nature and food production with the principles of nature is possible. So yeah, to a more organic food production system.
Can you share a defining moment or experience that has shaped your professional journey?
I wouldn't say so. I know people always have these aha places. I think for me it was the mission, and the mission kind of always has been, I would say, environment. Anyone who knows me knows that my journey has involved this compassion for environment. I just wanted to do something, always running for this cause. So I wouldn't say it was one moment, but I think I would like to acknowledge the contribution of all my good teachers at school, all my the universities that I learned from, so of course FJ, Fatma Janan, NAS, Oxford, the spaces that I've worked with like platforms like LUMS and now AQID. So these big platforms that kind of give you the space to think big.
When facing challenges at work, what strategies or mindset do you adopt to overcome obstacles and find innovative solutions?
The one thing that I wasn't ready for when I came back to Pakistan, I wanted to change, I wanted to contribute, I wanted to do, but I didn't realize how not difficult, but I think eventually things fall into place, but how slow everything is, and how fast the world, for example, is moving in research, and how challenging these things can be here. So what, it could take you 1 year to do something that you're doing maybe three months. But I guess that's the nature of research and how it happens. I would maybe give the answer hope. It's just finding hope. I always had this looking to the tomorrow that's coming, and something that I think a lot of people like Dr. Aab Bakr have told me, that keep doing the little things and everything else will just come to you. So that's what has happened. Just keep working on my compassion, my cause, which is what I call it now. Just keep working on my cause and knowing that a lot of opportunities will walk to me themselves instead of me fretting over not finding the right spaces, places, but also resources.
Reflecting on your time as an adjunct faculty member, how did you balance the demands of teaching with your research responsibilities? And what did you enjoy most about teaching?
I think what I enjoyed, I think I've mentioned it before as well, what I enjoyed the most about being at a center is traditionally in departments that tell you these are the number of courses that you teach, these are the X number of work, administrative work that you do, and so on. At the center, we had the liberty. So I only designed courses that I wanted to design. I only taught what I wanted to teach. And that is why I had a lot of space to think about what I want to do. And that is why I kind of could create, I wouldn't say brand, because I think brand becomes very commercial, but I could create my own space and my own identity.
So I hear that you used to play tennis while you were at WIT. How did you balance physical activity with your academic and research responsibilities? And do you find any parallels between tennis and your work?
So in terms of parallels, I think that tennis is a beautiful, beautiful sport. It kind of prepares you holistically in a sense that you're mentally, physically, emotionally invested in the game. It requires a lot of planning, but also structure, strength, but also techniques and tactics. So that it's a sport that I think will always be the closest to my heart of all the sports that I've played. I wouldn't say I played tennis a lot. Actually, I found it very difficult to find the balance, because once I start working in it, I find it difficult. And also for sport, you need to find someone who can play with you. But as I said, it's a sport that I love, and it's a sport that I recommend to everyone. And in terms of parallels, yeah, I think now that I'm at ICU, I actually find more time for playing tennis. But there are learnings that where one informs the other. So I think in terms of the staff and faculty from WIT, of course, Soban's been a constant. I was in touch with him before I even joined. So he's one person who I think he can come very easily to me, and I always go back to him if I have a question for WIT. Other than that, Ali, who also joined Soban's office as the business development manager, I enjoyed our time here as well, because I think he's very open and honest as a colleague, so good sport as well. And in terms of faculty at WIT, of course, when I was here, I collaborated with Dr. Mahmood a lot, and I'm still in touch with him. His book on water policy, his edit just came, which we launched recently. So him, of course, I'm in touch with on several matters of interest. And then more recently, I think I've done a lot of work with Dr. Talha. We're talking about, again, teaching pedagogies in climate, but also we have written some projects together. We've written a grant with Simon Fraser University together on food literacy and technology for food literacy, and similarly one on cryosphere and mountain communities and what kind of researches can happen there. So of course I'm definitely in touch with Talha and overall I think all the community to it, and now with India as well. So many people.
Looking ahead, what are your aspirations and goals for the future, both personally and professionally?
So I think that the more I grow, I'm realizing that I was maybe making myself the center of my universe and thinking I'm doing something. What I'm doing now is reaching out to people, seeing work and seeing how collective action can happen. And so I realized that a lot of people are doing good work. It's just that when you operate in your world a lot and alone in the academic space, you feel that you're the only one who's doing something. So I'm understanding that there are many more people like me who are doing very good things, and that we can join hands, and true change and true action can only happen if thousands of people like me join hands and work together. So it's changing the narrative of how academia generally work. In terms of limelight and name, I've always been sort of in the, of course at very smaller scales, but always been in the limelight, always been recognized for the little work that I do for environment, in community. But I think what I'm realizing is that true change, true impact, of course, more than my compassion and my ability to work alone, would require bigger collaborations, bigger agenda, bigger narrative, and maybe bigger fights as well. And as I'm growing and becoming slightly powerful, I think I'm understanding that that systems have to be fought. And I think at some point in my life, I'll have to think whether the narrative actually brings a shift in the system or not.
Thank you for your time, Dr. Fozia. We hope to see you soon.
Yes, thank you very much for asking so many wonderful questions and making me reflect on my journey in WIT.